Hello and welcome everyone to my guide to Endgame Neural Cloud content. Now you may be asking, what exactly will we be covering in this video? Will it be Black Hole, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8? Doesn't really matter because the endgame is Combination. That's right, our Endgame Neural Cloud content is right here, ready for us. We're going to go ahead and put the music up. Our Endgame beat. And let's go ahead and dive into the guide. Get as high of a score as you can for your favorite girl, and let's get started on covering this endgame content for Neural Cloud. So this is basically a reskin of the game 24. And for those who know 24, your goal is to combine pieces and get to the highest number of pieces possible. In both the original and this reskin, you can spawn a 1 or a 2 piece. In 24, it's I think it's a 1. I think it's still a 1 or a 2. It's all in multiples of 2 in 24. 2048. And when you're starting, you're just to save you time, you're going to be wanting to combine as many pieces as possible. Don't really worry. Any mistake that you make at this point in the run is fixable, or in a worst case scenario, you just restart the run. It's not the end of the world. And so your goal here is just combine, combine, combine. And this is useful too, even if you're just doing your dailies for the 2333 is the request for the daily. So if you just want to be able to get to that point faster, that's okay too. So there's going to be a few things in this guide that I'll be covering. So things like traps, this would be considered a trap. So this is where focus comes into play a lot, is how to avoid situations like this, because you never want to be swiping up in this game. Because what happens is you're going to get a piece that spawns under your bottom line, and this is early in the game. It doesn't matter. It's all recoverable. But later in the game, let's say you have a 12, 11, 10, 9 here. Trying to fix that situation is nearly impossible. So swiping up is a big no-no in this game. Unless you prefer to keep your pieces on the top left or top right, that's fine. But for the purpose of this, I will be prioritizing keeping my main piece on the bottom left of the screen. So swiping up is a big no-no. So as you can see, if you keep swiping, you're just going to spawn more and more pieces at the bottom, and that's bad. So let's go ahead and see if we can fix this. So remember, this is still early in the run, so everything can be fixed, everything can be resolved. There we go, we got ourselves out of that little pickle. But again, in general, you want to be avoiding these situations. And then there's another situation that you may run into, and I will just force it. And that's the situation where you swipe right on accident. So remember, I'm keeping my main pieces on the bottom left. My main top piece. So this is where lack of focus again will play in. So when you create this, the lineup, so I'm supposed to be swiping left here, but your instinct is, and once you get to the higher pieces where you're not really touching the bottom row anymore, you kind of forget that you have to not swipe right. Because once you're working on the higher end pieces with the higher rows, you're going to be commonly swiping right. So here, you might get this. And then, oh no, a piece spawned on the bottom left. That's terrible. And it is terrible. So once if you're working on a 12, you're probably going to lose your run to something like this. If you're working at an 11 or under, it is solvable. what you're going to do is, instead of trying to build up your pieces here, like some people do, and it is possible to solve it like this, instead of trying to build up your pieces on the bottom left and try and create a 9 just with the bottom left, what you're going to do is just keep working as if, and just ignore this piece in general. And just keep working on the rest of the pieces as if everything was normal. And now when you get to this point, instead of swiping left, you're going to swipe right and swipe right. Now you've shifted the corner in which your main piece is being held. This is the most effective way to fix it. If you had to accidentally swipe and you got a bad piece in your bottom left, and now you're going to be switching corners. As you can see, I did it again, where I was just not focused. I swiped to the wrong way. So the essential part about these runs is that you're going to be what we call snaking. Your goal is to just snake the pieces along. So if right now my main piece is on the bottom right, that means it's going to be biggest, second biggest, third biggest, fourth biggest, fifth biggest, etc. And you're going to be going along in a snake pattern. And one of the things is you always want to try keeping pieces on every single row as much as possible. That way you never have to swipe up, because there's always going to be a space open on one of the upper rows. And then you get stuff like this, which is what we call a trap. So most of the time, if you get stuck in a situation like this, it's probably just faster to reroll your run. Um, we'll see what we can do. Okay, so we solved that situation. Like I said, early on in the run, it's relatively simple to fix any mistakes. Just keep in mind, you're always going to be wanting to snake your pieces and then try and keep pieces on the top rows. That way, in a situation like this, let's say these 2 rows filled up, and this was a 2, you wouldn't be able to swipe down, you wouldn't be able to swipe left. But because I have pieces on the upper rows, I can swipe left and right like this. That way I can always generate new pieces without having to swipe up. Well, there's not much else to it. After a certain point, you're going to be taking the same approach with the upper rows. So as you can see, I've already filled up my bottom row, and that means the next row that I'm working on is the 3rd row. So my 4th row is filled up, and I'm treating the 2nd row, or the 3rd row, as my workplace. So now I'm going to be snaking with the 3rd row. Except when I get it spawned like that, of course. Whoops, that was a mistake. So now one thing that I could do here is that I could move the 5 down, and that way I have the 6 in the bottom left, which is all perfect, but that means I'm still stuck with a 5 in the middle piece, and I'm going to have an extra, I'm going to have to once again work in the bottom left, while these basically become useless. The 3 pieces to the right become useless. So what I'm going to do is that, seeing that the 7 is a relatively low number, I'm going to work to directly make another 7 on the middle row instead of doing that same process again. I'm going to swipe right. And there we go, we made our 7. And now we swipe. So it's little things like this that can help improve the consistency of your runs, and help free up space in your runs. So once again, I have the opportunity to swipe down, but then I'm stuck with a 4 here, which is not necessarily bad. Or I can swipe right and directly make the 5, and that's going to be the easier solution because it also keeps the consistency of my bottom row intact. There, I just went the normal route, and we're good. And you always want to have your largest pieces ideally on the bottom. And in order of the snake pattern. So here we go. We're ready to go ahead and snake using the third row now. And then we're going to be applying the same thing. You never want to swipe and lose your position of your biggest piece. So we're ignoring the bottom row at this point, and the 5 is your biggest piece now. So the 5, you try and never want to move it to the right because you're working on the 5 on the bottom on the left side. There we go. We managed to keep it. And we got hit by a trap again. So we're going to go ahead and try and create this 8 into a 9 and bring it into the 9 here. So I'm going to ignore the 3, and I'm going to be working with these 3 pieces and the 8 as if it was the bottom right. And there we go, we lost. So it'll happen. Unless we get a 2 spawn, these things will happen, and that's it. But hopefully that gives you enough of a background to being able to get higher pieces, and reach that high score of over 100,000. So if you can reach a 13 block, you are basically at that point guaranteed a score of 100,000. And good luck on your runs. Hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to see you on those rankings. Thank you and have a great day. Don't forget, like and subscribe.